The video went live at 9:14 a.m. on a Thursday. By 9:30, my phone was vibrating non-stop. By 10:00, my inbox had collapsed under 400 unread messages. HR was calling my desk, and the company Slack was a graveyard of quiet chaos. By noon, my name was trending on Twitter. The caption read, "When your boss thinks he can get away with harassment because he's everyone's favorite guy." Attached was a 47-second clip, grainy, handheld, shaky. It showed me standing near the break room door, apparently cornering my coworker, Samantha Lee. She looked small, nervous. Her voice trembled when she said, "Please don't touch me." Then came the line that destroyed me. "You're making me uncomfortable." Ryan. It ended there. Cut clean. Perfect for outrage. I sat frozen in my office, watching the view count climb like a countdown to execution. 100,000. 200,000. By lunchtime, 1.3 million views. In the comments, "Fire him. Typical corporate predator. Protect women in the workplace." And then, my company's official account. "We take these allegations seriously. The employee in question has been suspended pending investigation." Suspended. Not even an hour after it posted, I didn't fight it. I didn't even reply because I knew exactly what that clip was and what wasn't in it. Samantha and I had worked together for 3 years at a software firm in Boston. She joined my team as a junior developer. Smart, charming, ambitious. Everyone liked her, including me. Maybe too much at first. But I'd kept my boundaries. Always professional. Always polite. When I got promoted to project manager last year, she congratulated me first, hugged me in the hallway. "You deserve it, Ryan," she'd said. "I hope I can learn from you." I'd believed her. But something changed 3 months ago. She started taking credit for small things. Lines of code I'd debugged, reports I'd written. Then she began challenging me in meetings, subtly undermining my calls in front of the team. I didn't push back. I told myself she was ambitious, maybe even testing her leadership voice. I didn't want to be the male manager accused of suppressing a woman's voice. Then, one Friday, she stayed late to finish a patch. We were the last 2 in the office. She brought 2 coffees, sat at my desk. "Do you ever get lonely, Ryan?" I remember the way she said it. Not flirtatious, just probing. Like she was testing a door. I laughed it off, changed the topic, and left 20 minutes later. On Monday, HR called me in. "Samantha reported you for inappropriate comments during after-hours work," they said. "What comments?" I asked. They couldn't tell me specifics. "Just be mindful," they said. That was my first warning. The second came 2 weeks later. Another complaint, same vague language, uncomfortable body language. I started documenting everything after that. Emails, texts, Slack messages, even timestamps of when we interacted. I told no one. I just knew something about her had turned. And then came the video. The version the internet saw, me cornering her saying, "Don't touch me," was shot from the perfect angle. It made me look like I'd blocked her way out. But the truth? That footage was filmed by her friend, on a phone. The "don't touch me" line was part of an argument about project deadlines. She had raised her voice first. I'd simply told her we needed her report before the client meeting. But the full footage, the security camera footage from the ceiling, told a different story. You could see the entire room, me standing 3 feet away, her stepping forward, lowering her voice, pointing at me. When she realized another coworker had entered, she flinched back and said, "Don't touch me," loud enough for the phone camera to catch it. It was rehearsed. The setup had been perfect. By evening, my LinkedIn was flooded with angry messages. My personal address leaked online. Someone found my sister's Instagram and commented, "Your brother's a creep. My lawyer friend told me to stay quiet." "Let the process work," he said. "Don't feed the fire." But the process wasn't working. HR was terrified of bad press. They issued a statement by morning. "We have placed the employee on unpaid leave while reviewing new evidence." New evidence. A second video surfaced. Samantha crying in her car, saying she feared for her safety. I didn't sleep that night. At 3 a.m., I opened my laptop and scrolled through the home security feed from that week. My office was under full surveillance, something I'd forgotten when we had the new alarm system installed after a break-in last year. There it was. The night before the viral post, 11:47 p.m. Samantha and her friend in my office, sneaking in with phones out. Her friend stood by the door, filming. Samantha rehearsed her lines. "Please don't touch me." Pause. "You're making me uncomfortable." Pause. Cut. That felt fake. "Let me try again." She laughed. They did it 3 times before leaving. I watched the timestamp again and again. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the laptop. Then I saved the footage. 2 copies, 1 cloud, 1 physical drive. And I waited. When the story hit 2.8 million views by Friday morning, I knew it was time. I didn't make a statement. I didn't post a rant. I uploaded the unedited security footage to YouTube. Title: What Really Happened with Samantha Lee. The full office camera recording. I didn't add commentary. Just the raw feed. Within an hour, it had 500,000 views. Then people began comparing the angles, matching timestamps, realizing her proof video was identical down to the hand gesture she practiced. By lunchtime, hashtags flipped. Church Justice for Ryan started trending. Her sponsors, she'd been building an influencer brand about workplace empowerment, dropped her immediately. By evening, HR called me again. "Ryan, we need to talk." That was the understatement of the year. By Friday evening, the internet had shifted. The same voices that had called for my firing were now demanding Samantha's arrest. Not Justice for Ryan was trending in 3 countries. YouTube commentators, Reddit threads, even major news outlets were dissecting frame-by-frame comparisons between her viral clip and my security footage. For the first time in 48 hours, I exhaled. But it wasn't relief. It was exhaustion. Every message, every headline, every stranger suddenly treating me as a symbol instead of a human being. It all felt unreal. I was still sitting in the same office, same chair, same blinking cursor on my monitor. But my reputation, my name, had been burned down and rebuilt by the internet overnight. That night, HR called an emergency Zoom meeting. The director's face looked pale, jittery. "Ryan, we want to express our deep regret for how this was handled. We were misled." "Misled?" I repeated. "You suspended me without asking for context." "We were under pressure," he said quickly. "Social media attention, sponsors." "You mean you were scared?" He didn't deny it. "We'd like to offer you reinstatement immediately. With back pay." I stared at the camera. "No." "Excuse me?" "You didn't believe me when I told you I'd done nothing wrong. You believed the internet before you believed your own employee." Silence. "Ryan," he began carefully, "you have to understand." "I do," I said. "And that's exactly why I'm not coming back." I closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. The adrenaline that had carried me through the past 2 days was gone. In its place was a deep, hollow ache, the kind that comes when your trust in the world collapses all at once. It wasn't just that Samantha had lied. It was how easily everyone else believed her. People I'd mentored, friends I'd gone to lunch with, even my own manager. None of them had called to ask if it was true. They'd just disappeared. The next morning, the fallout began in earnest. Samantha's influencer deals evaporated overnight. Her sponsors released public statements cutting ties. A few smaller companies tried to scrub their posts with her face on them, but screenshots lived forever. By noon, she deleted her Instagram. By 3, she deleted her LinkedIn. By sunset, her lawyer released a statement. "My client, Samantha Lee, deeply regrets her actions and takes full responsibility for fabricating events that caused harm to Mr. Ryan Hayes. It was short, sterile, probably written by her PR team, but then the police statement dropped because filing a false report wasn't just unethical, it was criminal, and she had." The same night she posted the viral video, She had filed a formal complaint with local authorities, claiming I'd cornered and touched her. The footage proved otherwise. She was arrested quietly Saturday morning. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post victory memes or sarcastic tweets. I just sat at my kitchen table, staring at my hands, wondering how my life had turned into a courtroom exhibit. When my sister called, "I almost didn't pick up, Ryan," she said softly. "Are you okay?" "I don't know. I saw everything. Everyone did." "You did the right thing." "Yeah," I said. "But why does it still feel like I lost?" "Because I had. Not my job, not my freedom, but something harder to measure. Trust. Safety." The world had watched me get torn apart for clicks, and when the truth came out, there was no apology big enough to rebuild what broke. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from Samantha, handwritten. No lawyer, no PR. Just her words, shaky and uneven. "I don't know why I did it. I told myself I wanted justice for things that never happened. I wanted attention. I wanted to feel powerful. I didn't realize what I was destroying until it was too late." At the bottom, "I know saying sorry means nothing, but I am sorry. I read it once and put it away. Forgiveness wasn't the point. Some damage doesn't reverse. It just stops spreading if you stop touching it." The investigation into her conduct revealed more. She'd been manipulating coworkers for months. Subtle lies, small rumors. One person said she'd bragged about finally having leverage over me. Another said she'd hinted that I had it coming for not promoting her fast enough. It wasn't just about revenge. It was a career move. When the prosecutors built their case, they called me to testify. I declined. The video spoke for itself. They didn't need my words. By the end of the month, she pled guilty to filing a false police report and defamation. The court gave her probation, mandatory counseling, community service. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then came the calls. Podcasts, interviews, documentaries. Everyone wanted my side of the story. The man falsely accused. The internet witch hunt survivor. I turned them all down, because this wasn't a story I wanted to market. It was my life. Still, one outlet ran a segment titled "When Lies Go Viral." They showed my security footage side by side with her video. They even brought on a psychologist to talk about performative victimhood. I watched it once. Halfway through, I turned it off. Because seeing it dissected, the angles, the body language, the slow-motion breakdowns, made it feel like it was happening all over again. It wasn't entertainment. It was trauma, recycled. It took months before I could walk into a cafe without wondering if people recognized me. Some did. They whispered, smiled, said, "You're that guy." That guy, not Ryan, not developer, brother, son. Just that guy from the viral video. The internet doesn't let you start over. It just assigns you a permanent tag. But in a strange way, the storm left something behind. Clarity. I saw people for who they really were. Who called? Who didn't? Who believed first and asked questions later? A year ago, I would have said I trusted easily. Now I trust deliberately, and for the first time in a long time, that feels like peace. 3 months. That's how long it took for the noise to fade. At first, my phone had been a war zone. Journalists, old co-workers, even complete strangers sending messages that started with, "Hey, I just wanted to say," as if their sympathy could erase the weeks of silence when I needed it most. Now it was quiet. Too quiet. I moved out of my apartment, the one everyone had seen in the viral clip, and rented a small place outside the city. I didn't tell anyone the address. The curtains stayed closed. I worked remotely on freelance projects, stayed offline except for what was necessary, and learned the strange art of being invisible. But invisibility doesn't heal you. It just stops the bleeding. One afternoon in early spring, my lawyer called. "Ryan, you might want to come in," she said. "There's been a development." When I arrived at her office, she slid a thin folder across the table. "Settlement offer." I opened it. Samantha's legal team was proposing a payout. Not to me, but from her. restitution, damages, an attempt to close the case quietly. I stared at the number. It wasn't huge, but it was something. She wants to apologize publicly, my lawyer added. On record. I didn't respond right away. After everything, the lies, the humiliation, the fear, it felt strange to even imagine her saying the word sorry where people could hear it. When? I asked. Tomorrow. She's giving a statement in court before sentencing. I nodded. I'll be there. The courtroom was small. Barely 20 people in the audience. No reporters, no cameras. The public fascination had already moved on to the next viral scandal. Samantha stood before the judge in a beige suit, looking smaller than I remembered. Her voice trembled. Your Honor, she began, I made false statements that harmed someone who didn't deserve it. I wanted attention. I wanted validation. I was wrong. Then she turned toward me. I ruined your name, she said. You didn't deserve any of it. Her eyes were red, swollen. I believed the tears this time. Not because I trusted her, but because there was nothing left for her to gain. The judge nodded. The court appreciates your honesty, Ms. Lee. However, your actions caused significant harm. He sentenced her to 6 months of probation, community service, and a public apology published in 3 major outlets. It wasn't vengeance. It wasn't even closure, but it was accountability. Outside the courthouse, the air smelled like rain. Reporters had caught wind of the hearing after all. A few cameras lingered across the street, hoping for a quote. I kept walking. One of them called out, Ryan, do you forgive her? I stopped, turned slightly. Forgiveness isn't the point, I said. Truth is. Then I kept going. That night I found myself scrolling through the apology she'd posted online. To anyone I've hurt, especially Ryan Hayes, I fabricated events that never happened. I used the internet to spread lies, and I accept full responsibility. I hope this confession helps others think twice before destroying someone's life for attention. The comments were divided, some sympathetic, some furious, some cynical. The internet always needs a villain, even when it runs out of context, but I wasn't reading the comments. I was reading the space between the lines. The quiet acknowledgement that she knew finally what she'd done. I closed the screen and turned off my phone. For the first time in months, I slept without waking up from nightmares. The next few weeks felt strange, a kind of slow resurrection. I started going for morning runs again, met up with my sister for coffee, even updated my resume, though I wasn't sure I wanted to work under another corporate ceiling ever again. Then one morning, an email arrived. Subject: We owe you an apology. It was from my old company. The new HR director, someone I'd never met, explained that they'd conducted an internal review of how my case had been handled. They wanted to issue a formal public statement clearing my name and admitting their mistake. Too late, I whispered to myself, but I kept reading. They were also offering a consulting role, part-time, remote, higher pay, as a gesture of goodwill. It wasn't tempting. It was ironic. The same company that had thrown me out to appease social media now wanted me back as proof they'd learned something. Still, part of me considered it. Not for them, but for me, because maybe facing the past instead of running from it was how you take your power back. I accepted. On one condition: full transparency. If I worked with them, it would be to help build new ethics protocols, to ensure that no one else could be destroyed by an accusation before evidence was even seen. They agreed, and just like that, I found myself walking back into the same glass building where everything had fallen apart. Except this time, people didn't avoid eye contact. They nodded. They whispered. Some even said, "Welcome back." But the real surprise came a few weeks later. One of the newer employees stopped me in the hallway. "Hey, I just wanted to say, your story helped me." I blinked. "Helped you?" She nodded nervously. "Yeah, someone tried to pull something similar on me online. A fake rumor. I spoke up because of your video. I didn't let them destroy me. I didn't know what to say. For months, my story had felt like a wound that wouldn't close. But standing there, hearing that someone else had found strength in it, it shifted something in me. Maybe pain doesn't disappear. Maybe it transforms. A year later, Samantha finished her probation and moved out of state. I heard she was volunteering at a crisis center, helping women who'd faced real abuse. The irony wasn't lost on me, but maybe that's what accountability looks like. Not punishment, but purpose. As for me, I'd stopped trying to erase what happened. I even told my story once, anonymously, on a podcast about digital justice. The host asked, "Do you ever wish it hadn't gone viral?" I thought about it. "Every day," I said, "but if it hadn't, I might never have known how strong the truth really is." Now, whenever I see a trending hashtag accusing someone of something, I don't rush to share it. I wait. I listen, because I know what it's like to live in the space between accusation and evidence, and how easily the internet forgets there's a real human being there. And sometimes, when I walk past the office windows at sunset, I see my reflection, calm, steady, whole, and I realize something I never thought I would. The truth didn't just save me, it remade me. The first time I laughed again, really laughed, was almost a year after everything ended. It was at a friend's small backyard barbecue. Nothing special, just a few people, music humming low, sunlight catching in the smoke of the grill. Someone told a story about accidentally sending a work email to the wrong client, and for the first time in forever, I didn't feel the weight of people's eyes when I laughed. It didn't sound forced. It sounded normal. That's when I realized what healing actually is. It's not about forgetting. It's about being able to smile without guilt again. After that night, I started letting life back in. I got back into photography, the one thing that had always centered me before all the chaos. There was something soothing about capturing the world in still frames. They didn't lie. They didn't edit themselves for attention. Each weekend I'd drive out of the city to quiet places, old bridges, forests after rain, forgotten train tracks. I'd take photos until my camera battery died. Sometimes people recognized me. Not often, but enough. A man once said, "You're the guy from that story, right?" I nodded, ready for the awkwardness, but he just smiled. "Glad you made it through," he said. "Not everyone does." Then he walked away. It wasn't pity. It wasn't intrusion. It was acknowledgement, the kind that doesn't take anything from you. A few months later, my sister introduced me to someone. Her name was Leah. We met at a small art exhibit downtown. She was helping curate a series on truth and perception. Fitting, right? At first I almost didn't go. The idea of walking into a room full of strangers with cameras and opinions made my stomach twist. But Leah was different. She didn't ask about the story. She didn't ask about Samantha. She asked what kind of photos I liked taking. "Candid ones," I said. "The kind that show people as they are, not as they want to be." She smiled. "Maybe that's the only kind that matters." We started seeing each other, slowly, carefully. It took time for me to stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Every time my phone buzzed, I'd half expect another storm to start. But it never did. Leah was steady, quiet, and painfully honest. She'd call me out when I retreated too far into myself. "You can't live like a ghost forever," she'd say. "The world can't keep taking from you if you stop giving it permission." It was simple, but it stuck, so I began sharing again, my photos, small blog posts, even short reflections on what I'd learned. To my surprise, people responded, not with gossip but gratitude. They didn't want drama. They wanted truth. Unfiltered, human truth. One day, an email landed in my inbox. Subject: "Your story helped us build something." It was from a small nonprofit that worked on digital ethics education. They'd used my case in a curriculum about online accountability. They asked if I'd consider speaking, not as a victim, but as a survivor. At first I hesitated. The thought of standing in front of an audience dredged up all the fear I thought I'd buried. But Leah squeezed my hand and said, "This isn't about reliving it. It's about owning it." So I agreed. The event was held at a small university auditorium. Only about 100 people. No flashing lights. No media frenzy. When I stepped up to the microphone, my hands trembled. But as I looked out into the faces, curious, attentive, hopeful, something inside me settled. I spoke for an hour. Not about revenge. Not about Samantha. Not about the internet. I spoke about how easily truth can drown in noise, and how fragile reputation is when people forget to question what they see. Told them that silence can be just as dangerous as lies, and when I finished, the room was quiet, not the uncomfortable kind, but the kind that comes when people actually listen. A student came up afterward and said, "I never realized how easy it is to destroy someone with a single post." I nodded. It's easier than building them back. After that, I started doing more talks. Not big ones, small, honest gatherings. Community centers, schools, online forums. I wasn't preaching. I was warning. And somehow that felt like purpose. I wasn't just the guy who'd been falsely accused anymore. I was the guy who survived it and made something out of it. A year and a half after the incident, my book came out. I didn't plan to write one, but people kept asking for something tangible. Something that showed how truth can be twisted and still win in the end. It wasn't a revenge story. It was a roadmap through chaos. I titled it Noise Proof. It was about surviving when the world decides who you are before you even get to speak. And somehow, it resonated. The book didn't go viral, thank God, but it sold steadily. Teachers used it. Therapists recommended it. A few journalists even reached out to apologize for their earlier coverage. That last part stunned me more than anything. One wrote, "We chased a headline. We forgot you were human. I'm sorry." And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I just felt release. Then one night, Leah and I were sitting on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker below. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't caught her that day? If the truth never came out?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I'd probably still be running," I said. "From everything, including myself," she nodded. "Then maybe all this, awful as it was, brought you here." I looked at her, at the skyline, at the quiet night that didn't demand anything from me. "Maybe," I said, "maybe the truth doesn't just set you free. Maybe it rebuilds you piece by piece until you're stronger than before." It's been 3 years now. People still message me sometimes, not about the scandal, but about surviving lies, rebuilding after ruin, or finding peace after public destruction. And I answer every one of them, because I know what it's like to be on the edge of giving up. When I tell them it gets better, I'm not trying to be poetic. I'm telling them the truth because I've lived it, and now, when I walk through the world, camera in hand, laughter unforced, heart unafraid, I finally understand what redemption really means. It's not clearing your name. It's reclaiming your life, and that is everything.